Yeah, you can.
The Economic Development Corporation Parks Board, what do I call it?
Anything you want?
Well, we're gonna have a meeting. They've been sitting in 1,000 of these, and I forget what, they're been on this. All right. Call the order. Now, so we do have a quorum is present. Citizens forum, quorum. Do we have anybody who'd like to speak to the corporation?
No, sir.
No one's here. Go to number C. Discuss, consider, and take action on approving the meeting minutes of August the 9th, 2021. Does anybody have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discuss, consider, and possible action on allowing a second portable building to be placed in the city park for records and meetings of the JDA.
You missed one D.
I did. We'll get back to it in just a minute.
Okay. What this comes to is the Parks building, which is over where the old fire station was on Santa Fe. They've been working out of there for several years. JDA was allowed to kind of set up an office and a meeting space in that little conference room there. It's always been a good fit. They've done signups there and so on and so forth. That building has always been slated for future use for record retention. And we are to the point now where we've outgrown the current facility where records are stored. And so we are expanding, remodeling over there and setting that up to house all the records of the city. That means that building needs to become more secure. That meeting space is going to be eaten up with shelves and boxes. And so we've kind of told them they're going to need to find some other arrangements. That space is going to be occupied. So one of the options they came up with was to put a second portable building. And I'm not sure of the size. They haven't narrowed that down yet, but they wanted to put that right beside the one they currently have where they keep all of their equipment out there. And so while I told him I was not a fan of that idea, I think aesthetically it will not be, we're looking better than the one currently there that does not look so great. And I think it increases the risk of break-ins and vandalism, and you just can't secure much out there. After talking today with some other folks, I think there could be a better solution, and that would be to offer them the opportunity to put that building that they want over in the yard at the current park facility. We own that whole block. There's plenty of space. It can be inside a secure fence. There's plenty of parking. There's utilities available to them if they choose. We didn't really discuss that, but I think that's a much better option for them rather than setting up shop in the park. I also question if the ordinance doesn't prohibit them setting up shop in the park, because the park ordinance clearly does prohibit the use of the park for business. Now, you could argue they're operating out of there anyway as a nonprofit, playing ball, all that. That's probably a good argument. But despite that argument and what side of the fence you fall on, I think the better option might be to let them put a building over here, and at least let them hear that. They could do that we wouldn't have to reroute irrigation lines. We don't have to worry about running electricity under the sidewalks and just making a mess and getting stuff out there. I think it could be a better option if we offer to let them put it over here.
Why aren't they here?
My guess is they're probably not here because of the homecoming parade. I would assume there's floats, and that's probably why the football guys are not here either. So that's just my line of thinking.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do we need to take action on this tonight?
You do not need
Since
to.
you're gonna.
And my request would be that this get tabled until the next meeting. let me
make
at
a
least
motion that we
offer.
table this to the next meeting, give them the proposal to be moved somewhere else.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion, sir.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
10 seconds. We have a motion and a second to table this. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll go back up and probably people will be the same thing. I'm assuming we'll
Yeah.
table it.
There were lots of little football floats out there, so.
Because I'd like to see what they're asking for and what their budget is.
Yeah, I mean,
and what
we
their
haven't
quotes are.
discussed it. He just asked to be heard and I said, okay, so.
Well, I'll make another motion that we table this until
We
the
can
next
invite
meeting,
them.
sir. I'm good at that.
I have a motion to table this one. I have a second.
I'll take the second.
This is actually not an action item. So-
Okay. So
I
it
guess-
can be moved
It was
over.
just a discussion.
Yeah, just
We don't know
discuss.
what those plans.
If they happen to show up while we're talking about the budget, then fine, y'all can take it.
Now, next question I have, do we have to come back with all this to vote on before the council does? You know, like if you make an agreement with the baseball association and they like that idea you're gonna propose to them, do we have to come back and vote on that again before it
No.
goes to the council?
No, that would go directly to the council.
Okay.
You talking about if they put a building up
Right.
on Santa Fe? Yeah, that would go to the council. And Joe, the mayor may not even want it there. It's not that big a deal.
Well,
There was one there before.
Yeah,
There's
so we
a-
don't have to come back and say, yeah, and then goes to the council.
No, the only reason that it would come back to y'all is if they, for whatever reason, don't think that's a good idea. I told them that if they wanted to come directly to y'all about putting a building there, that I would not stop that. That y'all can make that decision. So
Yeah.
The building that's down there now, wasn't there stipulations on that they would keep it painted and everything?
well, it is painted. I mean, it doesn't look all that bad. It's just
It could use a refresh.
wasn't designed to be there, so it doesn't really fit, but I think they're living up to the agreement with that building.
Okay.
All right, we'll go and discuss, consider and possible action on fiscal year 2021, 2022 proposed budget.
Okay, budget document that's provided you is basically the overall snapshot. We talked about some additions to the budget, being an addition of a third full-time crew member, 50% funding of the economic development director for the city, IT improvements in the park, replacement of zero-turn mowers, the expenses for the Park 380 parking agreement for the downtown parking area. And then I've allocated $15,000 for the volleyball court. It's still hasn't really been decided upon, but it's being kicked around. So if that does turn out to be something you want to do, there's funding there for it. And I've also added an additional $30,000 to the building of the park in Cooper Valley. That will be along with the 70, I think, thousand that's already been allocated. So we added just a little bit to that. That park's a little bigger than I thought it was. That total, those improvements, $186,785. In addition, we'll see a decrease in expenditures by $156,000 that have been previously transferred to debt service for the payment of the YMCA. That is going to be covered by the TIF district. Will cover Type B's portion of that for this year and probably next year. And hopefully from now, we'll see. The budget also reflects what is projected to be a 7.5% increase in sales tax revenues. Currently, we are at 13.4% over for fiscal year 2021. That has changed a little bit since the last meeting. It's gone up just a tad bit more, but not significant. So out of that, we're proposing revenues of $514,000 for the next fiscal year, largely because of Sales tax revenue projections. JVA rental fees of $10,000 and a few miscellaneous pavilion rental fees and so forth. Expenditures, we're projecting to be $56,000, and that will include the economic development salary, advertising costs that we typically do, and some money set aside to replace some banners. We have the ability to increase the banners that we have in the park and ride up and down Joshua Station Boulevard and in the park if we so choose. And so we're going to be replacing and putting brackets on some of those fixtures. The transfers into the general fund, $379,165 will be for the maintenance operation of the park, including salaries and all the equipment expenditures. We're not going to be taking on any additional debt. And we expect that the revenues over expenditures will leave you $73,835 in good at the end of the year. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
If we, in the council did pass, where would the volleyball pit go?
That would be up for y'all to decide. There's been discussion of it going in the park, in the area, kind of where they do the movies in the park. There's an open space out there between the big ball field and the playground. There's talk about it going there. There's adequate drainage there and easy to tie on to drainage coming out of there. But it's right there close to that nature area and open area, and so it's going to get critters at it. Something to think about. There's room for it to go in the new park, Cooper Valley, but if it becomes popular, then we have a parking problem down there.
Right.
There's a couple of areas in the park that it could go. That would be up for y'all to decide.
Does the ordinance allow that though? Would the ordinance allow it though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we also checked with Parks and Wildlife because there's a requirement, a 10-year requirement in that, a 20-year requirement of the Parks and Wildlife funding that no permanent structure can be built in those open space areas of the park. And according to them, a volleyball court would not violate that.
So, okay, if that's the question, then what about, and I'm just asking, do you think we can get away with putting it on the other side of the little kiddie park over there in the wildlife area?
Behind that,
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough room.
Could it not be put in the retention area down there across from the Y?
Yeah, but I don't, it could be there.
Because you have
Well,
ample parking down
The
there.
volleyball court wouldn't go well in that retention area. Now, it could go in that open space area beside the parking lot, between the parking lot
And
and,
the retention pond,
yeah, it could go there. And pardon me?
I'm afraid it would wash away.
It'll wash away in that detention pond, but it won't wash away up there. It's out of,
yeah, it's out of.
we'd have some irrigation issues that area is irrigated, so we'd have to go around those, but there's plenty of parking over there and there's ample space. I mean, that's an option. And the city
You
owns
wouldn't
the
have
property.
you wouldn't have such a traffic flow of people in and out there.
Yeah, you would not, and we might could even get, some help from the Y to help, schedule stuff there.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll make it work something out with them too. It'd be easy to light it if it,
Speaking of the Y, what's our commitment for that building?
this year,
How many more years?
not, well, it's significant term, but y'all's involvement might be over. It was designed for the TIF to eventually take over.
Right.
But the problem that's a whole nother story.
It took a while.
Yeah. So that conversation is ongoing, but for this current year, you don't pay anything. This budget's not even going to debt service for the Y. As far as where a volleyball court can go, I mean, that's a conversation that we'll have before we go.
When we decide.
Sure.
Other questions about the budget? Any future agenda items?
So we need a motion to
I
approve.
make a motion to approve the budget as presented, sir.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. we'll go back.
Yeah, I want to ask one question before we vote on. If you don't mind. Yeah,
You have to wait next year.
yeah. Are we voting on the entire budget here, the 186,000?
You're voting on the type B budget.
Well, is that 186,785 included in that?
Yes.
Yes,
So when we pass, if we vote on this, then that'll be included in.
Yeah, the total budget you're approving is $440,165.
Okay.
That includes both of
That's,
those.
yeah.
You don't have to vote on it second time, third.
Little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
We're on there.
That's called a pass it.
That's it.
Is there a motion on the floor?
it's already
That's
passed.
already passed.
All right, any future items that need to be placed on the agenda? Anyone? There being none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.